Hello guys and welcome to my channel. My name is Jesper, and on this channel here we are talking about skincare, hair care and all that sort of things that is supposed to make the skin look good and the hair as well. But today we're going to talk about sunscreen, because sunscreen that is really important. So when you are doing something for your skin, you need to use a sunscreen as well, of course, in order to not get too many wrinkles and dark spots and all that sort of thing. And just to quickly say that on this channel here we don't use a filter, and no, I have not colored my hair. Okay, so let's get on with the review. I saw a video the other day. It was about a Korean product, and it looks like this, and it's from the company called Isntree. And I saw that video and I was kind of like, wow, it sounds really like a really fantastic product, because basically it was meant as it was one of those that are best of the best. And it was a YouTuber that does reviews every single week, and I just thought, well, it must be good then. So I thought, let's have a look at the ingredients list, because that's the first thing you do, really, isn't it, when you are taking a product down off the shelf. So we just make an unboxing, so a Korean unboxing if you like. Here we go. It sort of felt like any other unboxing, really, but we have the packaging here. And it was a little bit damaged when it came, didn't look that nice. So this one here, it says it is an SPF of a 50 plus, and that is really great. So one of the things about this product here is that they promise on the front that it says here no white cast. So that means that it should be really good for dark skin, and in the review it was said it was really good because it did not leave any sort of a white cast. So that was obviously great, but the thing is, of course, is that really true? So there are some other things in here. We can just say that on the front as well, it says there are 8 different types of hyaluronic acid. So that sounds splendid, really. So it's sort of like, should really kind of like plump up your skin and all that sort of thing. Now it is of course so that when you're using hyaluronic acid, you want a bit of water in your skin as well. So either you can, when you are putting hyaluronic acid on your skin, you can mist your face afterwards with some water. I would not recommend doing that if you have used this product here, because it's not water repellent, so it doesn't work that well if you go to the beach or if you are in the rain and stuff like that. So another thing with the review that I saw was that the reviewer said that this was something that the reviewer used on the beach. So I thought, well, then obviously it must be something that is water repellent or something like that, but it's not. So I thought maybe using it on the beach while you are sweating, or maybe you go for a dip in the ocean, then maybe a product like this is not the greatest product to use. So there are other things to say about this product here, and I will say you cannot get it in America or in North America, in the US of A, and that is because it contains a lot of modern filters. So there are Tinosorb S and Tinosorb M and Uvenyl A plus and all that modern things. So there are also some old-fashioned ones, and that I think is maybe a little bit of a problem. And on this channel here we have spoken about those filters before, and that is a homosalate, and it is ethyl-hexysalicylate. And it is so that those ingredients, they are derivatives of salicylic acid, and salicylic acid, that is something that can potentially be a hormone disruptor. So really you don't want a lot of that in your skincare, and particularly not if you are using salicylic acid on a daily basis anyway, so then you get a lot of it. So it is so, as we have spoken about before on this channel, that in the EU they have looked at homosalate at least, and there they say that if it is something that is used for the face, you can use up to 7.34%. I don't know how they calculated that number, but that's what they say. And normally it is so that you can use up to 10%. So the EU wants you to lower the amount of ingredients if you are producing something like this. And also it is so that with ethyl-hexysalicylate, that is also from salicylic acid, and that means that you are getting a lot of derivatives from salicylic acid. And the EU, they have said that they have just looked at homosalate on its own, so they have not looked at it if it is in combination with other derivatives of salicylic acid or salicylic acid itself. So what that basically means is that if you are combining these ingredients, then you get maybe a lot more than the EU think is a good idea. So it is so that with the ethylhexysalicylate you can use up to 5%, but if you are in Japan, then you can use up to 10%. So Korea, that is not Japan, so I'm not quite sure how the limits are in Korea. But if we just say that maybe they are 5% because they want to sell it in an international market or something like that, then when we look at the ingredients list, there are something interesting going on, because the first ingredients of those sun filters or UV filters is basically ethylhexysalicylate, and if that is used up to 5%, then the next ingredient or the next UV filter is homosalate, and homosalate is usually used in a concentration of about 10%. Like if you are using a product from Nivea, it sounds like when you talk to them that it is up around 10%. So the thing is that why are they using that much? Well, obviously because they need their product to work. So I'm thinking in this product here, when they say that it seems like there is only maximum of 5% ethylhexysalicylate, so the other UV filters, they are below there. So at least for homosalate, that seems that maybe it's a little bit low. So one of the things is that this thing here is really great for the skin if you like to have this sort of mattifying effect, and you don't want any sort of a greasiness and that sort of thing. And that is really interesting because a lot of these UV filters, they are either something that needs to be dissolved in some sort of oil, and some of them are really oily, and in general sun filters, they are something that makes a product really sort of oily and greasy. And there are of course things that you can do in order to combat that sort of a greasiness, like using silica or some sort of sapoic starch or rice flour starch and stuff like that. And a lot of companies, they are doing just that. Now the interesting about this product here is that it does not look like they are using anything that is helping with soaking up all that sort of oiliness. And those, if you just look at the ingredients list, you can see it here. I know it's really small, but the thing is that if you have a really long list in a sun filter or in a sunscreen, then maybe it's a little bit problematic, because usually when you're making a sunscreen, then it's difficult to add a whole lot of stuff into it, because the UV filter takes up a lot of space in a cream like a sunscreen. So that is just one thing to maybe think about. So when I tried this product here, I thought that it was a little bit too good to be true. So when I looked at their webpage, they are saying that they are actually having an institute in Korea that are independently looking at the cream, and they say that it is an SPF of 50 plus. And I'm just thinking that I don't think they did that testing for free, so I guess that the company paid for it. I don't know, I just guess. So, but that is normal for sunscreens. When you see something like and a UVA symbol in a circle, then it is the company themselves that have paid for the testing. So there's nothing unusual in that in itself. So the thing is that they have used 10 people between the age of 20 and 60, and again that's rather normal, in order to test what the SPF is, and also for UVA. So this other one, and that it says on the front as well, because some people, they really like to know this PA value, and it has 4 pluses. Maybe you can see that here, and again that is tested on these the same people. It seems like those 10 people. So they take sort of an average and find out how much is the PA value. So I have that little thinking that I think if this was tested by some sort of a consumer magazine or something like that in Europe, I think it maybe would not be said to have an SPF of 50. And why do I think that? Well, I think that because when you try this, and we can just have a little look at it, we'll try it on my face later, then it is really white, and that's of course a good thing if it doesn't leave a white cast, of course. But it looks like this, so it's sort of like really white. And the thing is that some of these UV filters, they are actually rather yellow, so it's a little bit strange that they can make a cream with all these sort of yellow ingredients, and it's just completely white. Obviously there are some companies, they are using titanium dioxide in order to make it a bit more white and also combat that, and some they are simply just adding a little bit of red color in order to make it a bit more orange. So maybe they're thinking it suits European sort of skin tones more, or whatever a European skin tone is, but something like my skin, for example, then I would say that they can go in and sort of color the cream basically. But this stuff here is like it's really white, and one of the things is that when you're looking at a Tinosorb M, that is actually a white powder, and it doesn't dissolve in water or in oil, so kind of like it stays put, just like titanium dioxide, for example. And what that means is that when you put this stuff on your face and on your eyelids, then what happens is that after a little while, then you will have this sort of a white line in the globe line or in the crease line. And what that basically means is that you will be able to see that stuff on the skin as well, I am pretty sure. I will just say that if you are out and about, I did not see that on my own skin, and I did not see it on my husband's skin. So for that, I would say out in sunlight, it didn't feel like there was a white cast as such. But if you are in artificial light, and I would say something that has a little bit more of a bluish hue, then I would say that you kind of like feel like a little bit like a ghost. But let's have a look and see. So we take this spoon here, and that is a 1 milliliter, so that is not enough. We need to have a 1.25 milliliter. So we add this stuff here. And I wouldn't say that this is not a cheap product. I can't exactly remember what it cost, but it was not cheap. And I bought it on Amazon because I can't really, as I see it, find it in any shop here in the UK. So yeah, you need to basically order it. And in general, these oftentimes these Korean sunscreens, they can be a little bit difficult to find. So we put it on, and I don't have any cream on, so I just wash my face. So put this stuff on, and it does go pretty easy on. It is really like a liquidy, like a gel, like a water gel, I think they call it basically. And it is really liquidy. And it is of course for the neck as well when we're using 1.25 milliliter. And the ears, but I'm not gonna put it on my ears today. So like that. And it doesn't have a perfume, but it has this sort of a little bit of some glue, sort of a chemical sort of a smell. But there's no perfume in it as such. I just put it on my eyelids as well. So maybe you can already see, when I see in the light that is here, it looks a bit white, I would say. And it is, I would say, it must be the Tinosorb M that does that. So yeah, and the thing is, of course, you need always to use the exact correct amount, and that means that if you're kind of like, you can see I just use my fingertips to try to not get it into my palms. And I see some people, they are testing a sunscreen and then just a dab on your hands, and they go like that and then smear it down like that. And yes, you guessed it, that most likely will not be that much on your face. And that is of course a problem if you would like to protect yourself from the sun. So I was out today, and I put it on one arm. I put it on this arm here, and I put something else on this one here. I put the one I normally use, and that is one from La Roche-Posay. So a hydration lotion SPF 30, and this one here, that is an SPF of 50. And I was out in the sun, and I thought like, well, really kind of like have my arms soaked in the sun without it being too dangerous. And did I notice any sort of difference? Not really. And does that mean that, yes, then this is actually an SPF of 50? Not necessarily, because the thing is obviously that if you are using a sunscreen correctly, then something like an SPF of only 15 actually gives, I think it's a 93% or 94% protection from the UV light. So that is actually rather a lot. So in that sense, even that this stuff here would only be a 15 or something like that, I don't think it's only that. But I'm just thinking, I don't think it is an SPF of 50 plus really. Then just even that it was much lower, then it would still protect me from being burnt. Yeah, so in that sense. So obviously what I would like to see is something like the star ratings from Boots or something like that. But I don't think that is gonna happen. So we put this stuff on here, and I can say that when I look in the mirror, it might not be that you can see I'm a little bit white, but maybe you can see I have a different sort of color. I felt that before I was more sort of reddish in the face, and now this stuff here sort of makes me more evenly whitish in the color. And I think that if you have dark skin, it's gonna show that it will, and particularly during the day, because it's kind of like it will end up in any sort of crease lines underneath your eyes and in this line up here. And if you have some sort of a flaky skin, it will just sit in that sort of a flaky area as well. And again, that is the Tinosorb M thing. So definitely I feel that I am looking white in the face, and when you look up at Tinosorb M, it will say that that is something that will give a white cast. So that is maybe not the greatest thing. So I would say this stuff here, I mean, now it's a little bit hot, and particularly here in England, it is really hot. And then next week's going to be apparently the worst ever heat wave or something like that. And that's what they're thinking. So 40 degrees. So yeah, and that's going to be rather a lot. So it just means that it can be a little bit difficult to put on a sunscreen. But as such, compared to other sunscreens, I would say that this does sink in pretty well. And one of the things is maybe that when you're using hyaluronic acid, then it can sort of kind of like it leaves a film on the skin. But here they have used various sorts of basically sizes of it, and that means that something might stay on the skin and other stuff might sink a little bit deeper in. But still, I will say that I felt that I had a sort of film on my face, particularly on the cheek area, where it's easy to kind of like try and roll it off. It wasn't bad, it was just, I would say, a little bit. And I think, as I often see when people are testing sunscreens, and mainly they're not really testing them, are they? Because they just talk about them, really. And I just think when you see them doing it, then they don't use that much, and then it might be that, oh, it feels like really, really great. But you need to use the correct amount, and if you do that, then something like this, I would say, is relatively expensive. But yeah, I would say, I mean, you get 50 milliliters, and that is quite normal for a sunscreen, but I think it was around £18 or something like that, in that sort of range, but everything included in order to get it here in England. So I would say this, yes, it does leave a sort of a dewy sort of feel, but I would say that it goes sort of away after a little while, but it will leave you with a sort of nourished sort of look. It's not overwhelmingly greasy, but it has a sort of a little bit of a shine. I think it depends on what sort of a skin you have, and if you have a very dry skin, maybe it's not that bad, and you have an oily skin, then maybe it's a little bit more. But I would say, did it annoy my eyes? No, it did not annoy my eyes. I might say that maybe it felt a little bit like I started to be a little bit watery around my eyes. Not that my eyes were running or anything like that, but more maybe because of all that hyaluronic acid. Maybe I'm thinking that because around your eye area there might be a little bit more humidity in the air, and maybe that sort of made it feel like you were a little bit sort of wet around the eyes. Nothing dramatic, but it's just like when you're testing something, you kind of like kind of feel just anything, really. And that was one of the things, but it did not annoy my eye or eyes in any way as you would have maybe other sunscreen. But you have it on for maybe half an hour, and then you just really need to take it off because you can't stand it. It wasn't like that. So is this something I would buy again, and is it something I would use on the beach if I were going to the water? No, definitely I would not do that. It comes off really easily, I would say, because you can just basically take it off with the water. I am thinking that the reason this stuff is not overwhelmingly greasy is not because they have used silica or anything that looks like what you would normally use. Maybe some of the other things in here, I couldn't find any of those things that particularly was something that would take away oiliness. But I think that the reason this is not very oily is that maybe there are not enough of those UV filters in it, so it will give you an SPF of 50. Will you be burnt? I don't think so, because as I said earlier, then even that if it was just an SPF of 15, it will still protect you rather well if you're using the correct amount. And that is of course the issue, and then that is why that maybe you have heard here in the UK that Boots, they are saying that for their own brand they won't sell something below SPF 50 for children. And obviously it's a bit I can understand why they're saying that, but if you're having an SPF of 30, then the difference really is not that great to an SPF of 50. But I think the problem is that in order to be on the safe side, then the issue is simply that people are not using enough sunscreen. So if you are the sort of person that is not using the amount that you must, then definitely go for a high SPF, like an SPF of 50. But it's still, be careful that you're not using it too little, because that will simply be a problem. And I think a lot of people, they are generally also for tinted sunscreens, they are using way too little, and that is maybe why they're thinking a product works really well for them. But I think every time I have tested something that I'm using the correct amount, then usually things are pretty greasy, and you need maybe some silica powder on top or something like that in order to take a little bit of that greasiness away. So is this some sort of miracle sunscreen that is the best of the best? Well, I would not say that it is that. And one of the things is that it has homosalate in it, it has ethyl-hexysalicylate in it, and we'll have to wait a little longer in order to find out what the EU has to say about ethyl-hexysalicylate. But if you're talking to the Consumer Council in Denmark, then the magazine Tank, then they will say that they will not recommend anything with the salicylate in it. So in that sense, they will say that this will get a very low rating. So yes, that was my little verdict on this stuff here. I am definitely not gonna buy this again. So yes, if you'd like to see more of this sort of videos, please subscribe, hit the bell, and do all the things to be notified when I upload more of this sort of videos. Thank you for watching. See you. Bye.